Okay, finishing up the solutions. Number 5, at Jumbo Burgers bar, Jumbo Burgers cost J pounds each, and regular Cokes cost C pounds each. 2 burgers and 3 Cokes cost $5.95. Write an equation to show this. Okay, so 2 Jumbo Burgers for price J plus 3 regular Cokes with price C equals $5.95. If one jumbo burger costs $2.15, what is the cost in pence of one regular Coke? Um, so now we know the cost of the jumbo burger. We don't know the cost of the Coke, so we could fill the J in. The J is 215. Well, 2 times 215 is 4.3. So 4.3 plus 3C, we still don't know C, equals 5.95. We have an equation with one unknown. We just need to isolate it to figure out what it is. So we subtract 4.3 from here and we get 0. Subtract 4.3 from here and we get about 1.65. So then we have 3C equals 1.65. So we have 3C equals 1.65. We can do that in our calculator. 1.65 divided by 3. And the answer is 0.55. 0.55. So Coke costs 0.55. If you want to check that, take your 0.55, put it into the C, multiply it out, add to 4.3, see if you get 5.95. 10,000 people attend a sports match. Let X be the adults, let Y be the children. So X adults, Y children. Write down the equation X and Y. Well, adults plus children equals 10,000, of course. Let's go to the next one. Cost of an adult ticket is 12. Cost of a child ticket was 5. Find the total cost of a family of 2 adults and 3 children. So 2 adults and 3 children. 2 adults times $12 plus 3 children times $5 equals something. So 12 times 2 is 24. 5 times 3 is 15. 24 plus 15 would be 39, I think. You could do that in your calculator, but okay. Total cost of a ticket for a sports match was $108,800. Write down the second equation, X and Y. Okay, so we're gonna have something add up to $108,800. What? We're gonna take this. Do you see that you already wrote the equation? It's just that you wrote in numbers for 12. I'm sorry, 2 people and 3 children. This case, well, we're just going to leave those as variables. So we know that the adults is X and we know the children is Y. So we'll rewrite this as 12X plus 5Y, 5Y. And that all adds up to 108,800. So we have one equation from there, and we have one equation from before, X plus Y equals 10,000. I'm sorry, this I wrote wrong. It should be 10,000, not 100,000, right? And now we're going to use the poly SMLT function. Oops, it's not here. So the poly SMLT function is to solve for these x's and y's here, and to install it, I'm gonna have to pause for a second. Okay, now I'm going to show you my calculator because in this short time I can't figure out how to put poly SMLT on the emulator, so it's going to be hard to do. To turn on poly SMLT, I should have checked in class to see that your calculator has the app, but you just press the app button right there. Hopefully you can see the picture there. And then you are going to press that and you choose number 2, which is poly SMLT. and then press any key. And then you can see that it gives you a bunch of options. I have option 2, which is simultaneous equation solver. And then it gives you a bunch of options. Equations and unknowns is what you need to fill in here. Equations and unknowns, it has many options starting with 2. You want to choose 2 for both, which it's already set to that, so that's fine. The reason why you're setting 2 for both is because you have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. 2 unknowns, x, y. You have 2 equations. One's x plus y, the other one's 12x plus 5y. So that's fine. And then you go down to, do you see where it says next here? So you just, you click on the graph button, which corresponds to the next button. You click that. And then we're going to put in numbers. We already have some numbers here, but we don't want those numbers. We want to put in these numbers. And what numbers do you put in? You say, well, x plus y, actually, the coefficients, the numbers that are multiplied times x and y are 1 and 1. And the bottom one's easy to see. It's 12 times the first variable, and it's 5 times the second variable. So the first equation is 1, 1, and 10,000. The second equation is 12, 5, and 108,800. So we're going to put those numbers in just using the arrow keys and the numbers, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like afterwards. To make the thing go in, you're going to have to press the down arrow or the enter key. So the top one's going to be 10,000, and maybe you don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm going to show you in just a second. And 108,800. Okay, so you can see there that I put 1, 1, 10,000 on top, although the 10,000 is cut off, and then I put 12, 5, 108,800 on the bottom. And then I'm going to press solve here. And I get the solution of 8,400 for x and 1,600 for y. So those are the answers. I'm going to write it right here. So x equals 8,400, y equals 1,600. Okay. Okay, let's finish up the last problem. The last problem has Vanessa renting a place for her wedding reception. She has 2 choices. One is the community hall, which is only £30 to rent plus £10 per person, and then later we're going to see the option for the hotel, which is different first-time usage cost and different per customer cost. So this table I made here, basically what I did was, okay, how much do you pay for 10 guests? Well, you pay 30 plus 10 guests times £10 per guest, so that's 30 plus 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100. Make sure you do the multiplication first. And then you add 30. And then you get 130. 330, you start with 30 people. You multiply 30 people times £10. And then that gives you 300. You add that to the initial fee of 30. So that's 330. And so on. 530, 730, 930. So that's just simple multiplication, addition, using the values £10 per guest and £30 for usage of the hall. And that says draw that on graph paper. So on the last sheet of graph paper, here's the graph. Now you don't need to look at all of this. Look at, in particular, at the red dots. I graphed the red dots here. 10 guests and let me move the calculator over here. 10 guests graphs to 130 pounds of cost, and then 30 guests maps to 330, and 50 guests maps to 530, and 70 guests maps to 730. So those are the points I graphed from that, and I drew this black line through the points on your test. Of course, you would do that with a ruler. And so that's the answer to the first part. Then it asks to write a formula for what you just did, and you can see I kind of already wrote a formula here. I have 30 pounds plus 10 guests times 10 pounds. The only thing I need to change to a variable is the 10 guests, which I'm going to change to n. Do you see how it varies? Here it's 10, here it's 30, the next one would be 50. So this is obviously n here. So I put the 30 as the initial fee plus number of guests times 10 pounds per guest. And so I'm done with the formula in terms of C, and n. C is the total cost, n is the number of guests. Okay, now we're going to look at what the hotel charges. Now the hotel charge is something similar in terms of they charge you a fee at the beginning and they charge you per guest. They're trying to confuse you here by putting a fraction 5 over 2. Maybe the easiest thing to do would be use your calculator to divide that out. If you do, you'll soon discover that 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So 2.50 pounds times number of guests and plus 500 is the formula to find the cost of the hotel. Now remember, this C isn't exactly the same as the other C because it's the cost of the hotel. It's not the cost of the hall. Describe in words only what the formula means. Well, 500 for using the hotel and $2.50 or £2.50 per person. Okay, so let's make a table for this one. Well, for 0 guests, you can see that you put 0 in here. You're already paying £500 anyway, even with just 0 guests. Well, for 20 guests, you put 20 in there. 20 times 2.5 is 50, plus 500 is 550. So the second one is 550, and the next one is 600. And you can see there's a pattern here, 500, 550, 600, they're jumping by 50s. But then they do something tricky. They put 80 for the number of guests instead of 60. The next number should be 60 because you're counting by 20s. They put 80, so now you got to put 80 in there very carefully. Multiply times 2.5, you get 200. 500 plus 200 is 700. So look, that this last one jumped by 100 because the x's jumped by 40, or the n's actually. Okay, now it tells you to graph that. So we're going to graph 0, 500, 20, 550, etc. So we'll go back down here. So we'll look at 0, 500 would be that point, 20, 550 is that point, and then 80, 70, it was 80, something, right? 80, something. This is the last point here. So, I'm sorry, it's this one here, 80, 700. 80, 700 the last blue point. So remember, I'm graphing the blue points here for the hotel. So then we draw a black line through it, okay, to show the hotel cost. And remember, the x-axis is the guests and the y-axis is the hotel cost. So we just did that. Now see, explain briefly what the two graphs tell you about the charges made. Well, the hall is cheaper for less people. Now, when you look at the graph, you can kind of see that because with less people, from 0 to 0 to 60 people, you can see that the hall is ranges from about 70 pounds to about 600, and the other one's already 500. So the hall is cheaper for less people. That's kind of what the graph is telling us. What else? Using your graphs or otherwise, find the cost of renting the community hall if there are 87 guests. Well, if you use the graph, just make sure you draw very carefully. So we'll look at 87. 87 is this green line here. So 87 guests, we would draw up to, I don't know, about there. And so that would be about, I don't know, 880 pounds, something like that. It's kind of hard to tell on this graph. So I put 900 here, but actually it would be probably 880. You could use the formula for the community hall to calculate this exactly. That would be the best thing to do on the test to get a accurate answer. You would just multiply 87 times 10 and add 30 to see what you get. Now the rest of this I might not have time to say in this video, but the rest of it's self-explanatory, right? Number of guests at the hotel charge 650. You just look at the graph and look at 650 in purple and follow it down to the 60, and you can see that the number of guests would be 60. Okay, and the other way you could do that would be you could graph it on the calculator, and then you could use the table to see when it would be equal to 650. And then the difference in charge between the council and the hotel if there are 82 guests, we'll use the formula, put 82 in for the first formula, 82 in for the second formula, see what the result is, and subtract the two.